Hey, there's Wisconsin Wine Guy. I'm back with another wine review, and today we're going to be doing Pinot Grigio. So, before I get started, those who are new here, I make a selection of wines and taste these wines, give you my opinion, what I think about these wines, utilizing the infamous thumb rating system. I like to call these everyday drinking wines because when you walk into the store perusing the aisle, you see these wines everywhere. Everywhere, you know what? And they're wines that don't break the buck or don't break the wallet, right? So I rate these wines with a simple rating system, thumbs up. So thumbs up says, you know what, it's a good everyday drinking wine. Can't go wrong with it. I recommend it. 3/4. This is a wine that I would serve at my party. It's a wine that if I saw it at a party, I would drink. It wouldn't be a wine that I would age, but I would drink that wine. Okay? Halfway, ooh, something was wrong with that wine. It didn't work for my palate. It didn't make it a bad wine. Maybe I should say something's wrong with that wine, but it didn't work for my palate. But I will tell you why it didn't work for my palate. But you taste it. Let the rest of us know. Okay? What do I always say? Let your palate be the guide. Thumbs down, always an easy one. And double thumbs up. You know, is an exceptional wine that, you know what, this is the wine that not only would I be willing and wanting to share with my friends, but it's a wine that also that I feel has some aging potential that I would sit on a couple of bottles. So double thumbs up, you know, sit on a couple of bottles and drink it over every 5 years and see what happens. All right? Now, let's get into today's wine. Mezzacorona. Who doesn't know Mezzacorona? Right? I know Mezzacorona. You know Mezzacorona. In fact, one of my earlier years of drinking wine was Mezzacorona, Pinot Grigio. You know, that and a few others. You know, you can't even say you graduate, you know, from one level to the next. You can't really say that. You know, you just graduate from one brand to the next because you can have an off year in any brand. Okay, but you just graduate. You know, it's unfortunate that Mezzacorona at times can be associated with a lesser quality wine, but that's not necessarily true. Okay, again, let your palate be the guide. It's always a matter of taste and a matter of opinion. So let's get into this one. This is the 2023 Mezzacorona Pinot Grigio. They got a history established 1904. This is from the Delle Venzie, DOC. You know, part of the I like to call the area that's king of Pinot Grigio. You know, including Friuli, Trento, and Veneto. You know, and there's sub-regions or sub-areas inside those major areas, but just right there, the Delle Venzie, you know, Pinot Grigio, and that's they do some red wines, which is funny. They do other whites, but their primary grape in that area, that region, you know, they call it the three Venezias, but their primary grape in that area is Pinot Grigio. Okay, so we're gonna give this a taste. It's been a while since I've had Pinot Grigio from Mezzacorona, so I'm really looking forward to trying this and sharing it with you. Again, this was my go-to Pinot Grigio for a lot of years, you know, and this is the thing about when you start drinking wine, you drink so many wines and so many different brands, you know, and I always like to, when I do these reviews, go back in time, you know, because I did enjoy a lot of brands, you know, once upon a time, but you just keep going forward, you never go back, you know, whatever is what. It's always nice to do that, and I advise you do that too. You know, you may find, oh my God, may rediscover your love for a brand that you drink, that you used to drink once upon a time. So this is coming in at 12.5% alcohol. As I said, again, it's a 2023 retail price at $10.49. To give you an idea, back in the day, this was a wine that you can get for, hey, people will say inflation or whatever, right? But this is a wine that back in the day you can get for like, you know, $5.99, $6.99, $8.99 a bottle. Now it's $10.49 a bottle. You know, but you can find it on sale probably in the $9.99 or $8.99 range. So let's get us a taste. You know, again, has those nice greenish hues, greenish yellow hues in the wine, you know, typical of the color of the Pinot Grigio. Now for the nose. Now for me in Pinot Grigio, I like the smell of apples and citrus. You know, it just works out. It just works out great for me, and this does not disappoint on the nose. Definitely does not disappoint. Now, some Pinot Grigios will give you a Granny Smith, some can give you a Honey Crisp, some can give you a Gala. It depends, you know. It's what you smell, what you interpret. For me, I interpret a little bit of Granny Smith with some lemon And I would even throw in some Gala. Just for fun, just because I like Gala apples. But again, when you're thinking about, when you're smelling wine and these aromas and you're tasting, you go into your database and you relate or you connect with something. Okay. Now each wine or each grape has its own flavor profile or characteristics, and smell characteristics, however, or descriptors, call it that. But go into your own database and see what you come up with, all right? That's what makes wine so much fun. Now, there's the nose. Two-step process on the taste. We taste for acidity. Again, no acidity, no play. Then we taste for the wine and give it a grade. Here we go. All right. Fantastic acidity. I like that. I'm digging that. Okay. Now, let's go into the taste. Let's get the flavors. Let's let it just roll across my palate. Okay. Flavor-wise, I think it's pretty nice. You do get that soft fruit in the mid palate when you just let it rest on the palate. You get that soft fruit in the mid palate. You do get that tanginess on the sides of the palate when you just let it roll in. It has a lightness to it. I mean, again, this is an easy drink of Pinot Grigio. And believe it or not, all Pinot Grigios won't taste the same. Okay? Hear it from me, and you heard it from me. All Pinot Grigios will not taste the same. And some would say, well, a higher price point Pinot Grigio tastes better. No, all Pinot Grigios will not taste the same. You can take several Pinot Grigios at $30 a bottle. They all won't taste the same. Some may be worse or better than the other, and some may be like, you know what, this tastes more like a $10 Pinot Grigio. But that's just all a matter of opinion. You just can't taste that and say it's a $10 Pinot Grigio, all right? This is just the entry market. This is just the price point that this enters the market. Doesn't make it a bad wine because it costs $10.49. Let's give it another taste here. Okay. So it has that subtle bitterness on the end. I think this would be great with food. It has those Pinot Grigio elements, that soft fruit in the mid palate. It has the acidity. It has that lemon and lemon pith, that you get on the finish when you swallow. The finish itself is more of the lemon pith than the fruit or anything else for me on my palate. Let's give it one more taste here. Then we're going to give you a grade on this one here. I love these screw caps, right? You can lay this down in the fridge if you got no room, or lay it down in your cool basement. Okay, it is refreshing. It is crisp, so it meets all those points. But I'm going to give this a 3/4. Okay? I would drink this if it was at somebody's house. Okay? And if I happen to go to the store because I'm having a gathering out by the pool or something, I would put this in the mix. For if I'm being budget conscious, I would put this in the mix. All right, so 3/4, for this one, a decent everyday drinker, for sitting out, on the deck or the patio, having some fun with some friends, very light. I definitely would have with some food if you wanted to eliminate that lemon pith that I get on the finish. I would have with some food, to try to counterbalance that. So, the 2023. I'm going to give it 3/4. To be honest, I can't remember what I liked about it, in my early years of drinking it, but I wouldn't turn it down if I had it at a party. Okay? It's Wisconsin Wine Guy saying, as always, let your palate be the guide for selecting your wine. In this case, selecting your Pinot Grigio. And I'll see you next time. Oh, before I go, this would be interesting tasting. Get a bunch of Italian Pinot Grigios from the different regions. Maybe like 4. There's 3 regions, and pick up, so maybe like four to six Pinot Grigios, and do a blind tasting, different price points, and see what you and your guests would pick out. See you next time. Ciao! Oh, I don't have any wine.